Justin Fields is a Jekyll and Hyde prospect. There are people who love him. There are people who hate him. The people who love him are staring at all the positives. And the people who hate him are overly critical on his negatives. But this does not mean that there are not negatives. He is far and away the most difficult quarterback prospect to scout this season. And if don't overthink it is your stance, then you're guessing. And you can't afford to guess. But when a prospect is difficult to evaluate, you hear a lot of bad takes. So we need to clear the slate before we get started. Anybody helmet scouting Justin Fields is making a mistake. The offense that Ohio State runs with Justin Fields is more similar to the Buffalo Bills than anything Haskins ran. Comparing Fields to the quarterbacks of days gone by at Ohio State is a fireable offense. There are also people who say he can't go through progressions. This isn't true. There is a problem that points to what is going on there, but it isn't the progressions. On anticipation, we're all over the board. Some people are saying that he is a poor anticipation quarterback and the right, and others are saying that the anticipation isn't a problem because of option routes. We'll cover that. And maybe we should take a second to talk about character. No, you can go look at our video with the clown wig where we talk about intangibles don't matter. None of that character nonsense here. But none of that changes the fact that Justin Fields is a Jekyll and Hyde prospect. There are glowing positives and dire negatives within the same trait oftentimes. All the negatives on Justin Fields come back to the same three things: instincts, awareness, and vision. And he's dealing with flaws that are dealt with by three quarterbacks we've recently seen: the interior vision of Tyrod Taylor, the check down avoidance of Carson Wentz, the panic, the anticipation, and the post-snap vision of Josh Allen. Now we're going to get back to the athletic profile because you know what that is. And we're going to jump right into pocket mobility. And there are glowing positives and dire negatives in the pocket mobility of Justin Fields. When he sees pressure, he has a tendency of dropping his eyes to it. But when he drops his eyes to that pressure, he is going to make somebody look stupid. If he sees pressure pre-snap and you get one clean rusher, that clean rusher is not going to touch him. That's the athleticism and the quick twitch movements you see from Justin Fields in the pocket. And that's very impressive. But when he doesn't see pressure pre-snap, or he's sorting out pressure as the pocket is decaying, he doesn't feel pressure. He sees pressure. And there are a number of times on film where you will see him slide to the wrong spot in the pocket to make pressure even worse. Times where he'll spin out of a rush and run to the side where there's the most bodies to contain him. His awareness in the pocket is not high level on feel, on instinct. On vision, he's an athlete and he can kill you. But on feel and instinct, it's lacking. You will see him step behind defenders and close off his throwing lane. You will see him exit from the pocket through alleys where the blocking leverage isn't there. When it comes to pocket mobility, Justin Fields is going to break your heart. He's either going to do something amazing or he's going to do something wrong. There really isn't much in between. But then we move over to tempo. And tempo is your internal clock, your processing speed, and your decision making. And Justin Fields has an internal clock issue. You will constantly see him looking at his one read when the play is sped up. He will look at his one read, and as his one read's just about to get leverage, that's when he moves on to two. The timing on it is off. The knowing when to escape the pocket is off. And he makes this work. Oftentimes. There will be things left on the field, but he will make this work. The one real negative in the tempo area is that he has that Josh Allen panic moment every once in a while when he gets himself in trouble. That's something, again, that is going to break your heart. And this is one of the traits where he ranks in the lower parts of this class. Trey Lance seems to have a better tempo situation or trait in him. Zach Wilson does, Mac Jones does, Davis Mills does. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, both in that tempo area, they're a struggle. I would give the edge to Fields, but it's not by a lot. And we're going to talk about ball placement and vision in the same trait area because both are dramatically affected by each other. With Justin Fields, you see the Tyrod Taylor. You see the quarterback who doesn't see the middle of the field well. When you see these situations pop up, you see the struggles, and you see that Ohio State has built their offense to avoid those situations quite a bit. If you look at the region of the field from the slot corners to the free safety, inside the box, Justin Fields struggles to see his windows. This is when, if you look at 2019, Justin Fields used to clutch, and throw. When he was timing that up, when he was second guessing that, it was in the middle of the field. Now he'll do a ball pad when he's timing that up in the middle of the field. It's a good step in the right direction, but it's still there where he doubts the throws over the middle of the field. You see this on boots as well, where you'll have two defenders drifting and you'll see a nice 5-yard window between two defenders where quarterback with big arm talent and vision on an NFL level will shoot that gap, and Fields won't do it. Fields would rather call his own number, be safe, and run the ball than take the opportunity that's there. That leaves a lot of opportunity on the field. But when you move outside the numbers and over the safeties, vision, ball placement, gorgeous. You see perfectly timed passes, wedged to the sideline to a wide receiver. You see coverage leverage throws. You see throws up over the DBs, into the bucket. You see the back shoulder throw, everything. Deep and to the numbers. That's where Justin Fields lives. His ability to see leverage on the outside, to identify where the safeties are, and the ball placement on the outside numbers and deep is the best in the class. Inside the numbers, shorter than the safety, within the box. The easy stuff, the standard RPO stuff, the thing that almost every quarterback wants to attack in that area of the field. Justin Fields is 6th of 6. Jekyll on the boundaries and deep, Hyde inside the box. And that brings us to anticipation. Ohio State is running a lot of option routes. And if you aren't familiar with option routes, it's a route where you can run a multitude of different routes, 3 different options, usually, where the wide receiver picks the best route versus the coverage they see. So if a cornerback is bailing into 3 high, you run the hitch in front of him because that's what he can't cover. If you're seeing a cover 2 window, you run your vert into it. This is something that when you see them in college, you rarely, if ever, see a quarterback throw with anticipation. It takes precision on both parts, the quarterback and the wide receiver. It takes a ton of built-up chemistry. You rarely see it thrown with anticipation in college because it's risky. At the same time, the quarterback should be seeing the wide receiver leave the break 1 step and then triggering on the throw. See it, throw it. Not see it, wait, and then throw it. Because that's what you see Justin Fields doing. Meaning you regularly see Justin Fields throwing to his wide receiver on the 3rd step out of their break. That is not throwing with anticipation. So if his next team doesn't task him with option routes, you will see it better. You will see it look better, but it's still late. Even by college standards, it is still late. And those pesky option routes is what's leading to this progressions talk. 2 ways I can explain people saying that he doesn't go through progressions. 1, option routes. If I look at my 1 and my 1 is going to run the best route versus the coverage that he is going to face, then he's always going to get open if I have enough time. If you look at Ohio State, having time is something they had abundance of. The second part is if you look at the route based on pre-snap primary. Now, pre-snap primary is I have a play, you show me your coverage, I know which one of my options is going to kill you. So while the wide receivers and the quarterback go through the progression, pre-snap, Fields has already chosen which one in the progression is getting the ball. And that's absolutely fine. Because if I have a cover 2 and I'm running 2 routes that don't work versus a cover 2 on a condensed side of the field, and I have a post and I have a vertical against that cover 2, the post and the vertical are what I'm looking for anyway. So if I just read to my 1-2 quick and then move on to my 3-4, then I'm going to get to the routes that are going to win the play. And if you don't fool Fields pre-snap, he has a lot of success versus you. But the problem comes in when you show him something and then show him something else. Post-snap processing for Fields is a problem. You've seen it all season with teams that do zone blitzes where they bail under his one. There's answers on the field that he doesn't get to. When his pre-snap look lies to him, he struggles to figure out what it is. Very similar to Josh Allen. And in a lot of circumstances, there is a way to scheme around that, which is why you should go down below, hit subscribe, ring the bell, because we're actually doing a second Justin Fields video before the draft talking about how you maximize his talents and hide his weaknesses. Because if you do that, the results are going to be very, very good. But circling back to the physical traits, we know 4.4 speed, Justin Fields can cook. He can run. The agility isn't high ranking. Want to point that out. The speed is there, the agility is not. You're not looking at a player like Lamar, Kyler, Deshaun, who are the fastest and most agile players on the field most times. Fields is fast, Fields is big. That is a positive, but don't get carried away. When you look over to the arm talent in the short and intermediate, he grades 4th in this class, and that isn't a bad thing because this class is arm talent gifted. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence outrank him in the short and intermediate throws, especially in the box because Fields doesn't trust his throws in the box. And even his deep ball, which is very accurate and well placed, comes in 3rd, tied with Zach Wilson in this class. And this is the one area where mechanics actually come into play with Justin Fields. He has a tendency of dropping the ball a little bit low as he's bringing it into the load point. And when he tries to put extra into the ball, he'll rush his mechanics a bit, bring his elbow up too soon. And that movement in the load point makes it so that his wrist snap doesn't hit right every time. And when it floats, look for the nose of the ball on the release. It will rattle real quick. It rarely shows up. It's still fairly accurate, but it is something to note when he's loading up on a throw. On platform, off platform, you don't see a vast difference from Fields. His off platform work, he doesn't have the body control of a Zach Wilson. He doesn't have the body control of a Trey Lance. And while he's not as comfortable in those mechanics as some of the other quarterbacks, it still grades above average. So with Fields, you're looking at a quarterback who is all over the place. Traits that are grading high, traits that are grading low. And when that happens, it's all about the system. The system that they play in and how they fit that scheme. Up until late in the draft process, up until my last step of evaluation, I had Justin Fields as the 4th quarterback in this draft. And the last step in the evaluation is to build an offense around that player and imagine how it would succeed. With Justin Fields, there's a way to do this, and that moves him up the board. It's not uncommon. He fits a number of systems in the league, and we'll talk about that on the next video. So if you're ignoring his warts and you have him as quarterback 1, you're underthinking it. If you're focusing on the warts and you have him in the 4th round, you're out of your mind. Justin Fields is going to be a quality quarterback in this league. You just got to cheat the weaknesses away and put him in position to thrive. We'll cover that in the next one. How to maximize the rare talents and the great positives while hiding the negatives of Justin Fields. Love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.